Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I give Him thanks and praise for His sending messengers and prophets into the world to guide humanity. I will forever thank Allah for His intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and for raising up in our midst one who I believe to be the exalted Christ and the long-awaited Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And if I live to be 1,000 years old, I will never be able to thank Him enough for the teacher that I've been given. I affectionately refer to him as my maestro, a teacher of both the spiritual knowledge and wisdom of God, as well as the artistic nature of God that is in all of us. Speaking of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I want to thank Sister Deborah and the Ministry of Education for once again allowing me this opportunity to share just a little bit of what I have grown and learned in my own personal study of the violin and classical music, and the study of art, of expression through art. And the question that she gave to me, the question of why did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad want his ministers to know music? And for me, music, and starting with the violin at the age of 7, has been a part of my life, my entire life. As I shared, I began studying the violin when I was 7, and after along with the violin, I began to study the piano around the age of 12, and there are many other instruments that I began to pick up and learn and study, and some I play professionally, like the violin and piano I play professionally, and other instruments you may find me on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram playing my guitar or other instruments. But for me, music is a means of expression. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan referred to music as a universal language. Universal. And something that is universal means that it is applicable to everything in the universe. So music can be found everywhere in the universe. What is music? Music is the organization of sound, of vibrations, of notes and phrases, and notes formed into phrases, and notes put together to make harmonies. Music is rhythms and pitch, which means notes, pitch, and each instrument having its own timbre or voice. Timbre means voice. So music is taking these notes, these pitches, these rhythms, these timbres, and creating something that resonates in the mind and in the hearts of those who listen to it. So a composer like Beethoven, and of all the composers that I've studied and performed, Beethoven is a composer who resonates the deepest in my heart. I love the music of Mozart. I perform the music of Mozart on my violin, on piano. I love the music of Tchaikovsky and Brahms and Corelli and Vivaldi and Saint-Saëns. But Beethoven I've found a deep connection with on many reasons. One, because Beethoven was one of the very few classical composers who was of Black or African descent. And that experience in his life, it plays an important role in what shaped his ability to write music, what shaped his mind and his thinking when he was writing music. The challenges that he faced being a Black classical composer and musician are challenges that I face as a Black classical composer and musician. But Beethoven also suffered a debilitating handicap, the handicap of deafness. And when you lose your hearing, especially as a performing musical artist, that should end your career. like a career-ending injury in sports, or if you're an athlete, well, losing your hearing as a musical artist and composer should end your career. But the miraculous thing about Beethoven was that when he lost his hearing, that was when he began to compose his most powerful and transformative works after he lost his hearing. In fact, he was writing music that was so far in advance. God had inspired him to write music that was so far in advance that certain compositions, like his violin concerto, when it was premiered, it wasn't performed again for sometimes 50 years. And he would write music so technically difficult in his deafness that when the orchestra musicians couldn't play it because it was so hard, he would dismiss them and say, well, this music is for a future time. That was Beethoven. Well, Beethoven, in losing his hearing and being inspired and touched by God, was able to take the notes that he heard in his mind and in his heart, and was able to arrange notes on the musical staff so that those notes were able to resonate and produce a sound, a universal sound. Some of his symphonies now dating over 200 years. So his music, the life expectancy of his music now expands over centuries because of the power and because of the way he was able to write notes and put those notes together to produce a universal sound. And so music being a universal language means that it is an expression that is found in every aspect of life on earth, and it can be found all throughout creation. So there's music in nature. There's music in the human being. My children took me to the Science Museum, and we were studying sound, and I learned that the sound of an erupting volcano is the loudest sound in creation. It's so loud and so powerful that just the sound of an exploding, erupting volcano can kill you, can literally cause fatal internal damage in a human being. There was one volcano that erupted, I read at the Science Museum, erupted that punctured the eardrums of people 40 miles away from it. That's how powerful this sound was in creation. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that black is not a color, but he said black is universal. There's that same word again, universal. So music is a universal language, and the truth of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught is a universal message, meaning that it is applicable, the truth that he has given to us through the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan is applicable to everything in creation as well. So I believe, he wanted his ministers and his representatives to know how to take the language that Master Farrakhan Muhammad gave us and put it together in a way like a composition, like a musical composition, that what we say and how we articulate it will resonate in the hearts of people all over the earth and all throughout our universe. So, as a violinist, a classical violinist, I've been blessed to travel across the country with my violin, and I've been blessed to make friends all over the world with my instrument, and sometimes I may be in a setting, I may perform with musicians, and we may not even be able to speak the same language in terms of English or Mandarin or Chinese or French or Spanish. I speak a little French and a little Spanish, but we are able to communicate using our instrument. Sometimes I have sheet music that I'm given, and the music will have, the text print will be written in Russian or in German, and I don't speak Russian or German, but the notes, I can play the notes. One time I played a wedding at a Lebanese Catholic church, and they asked me to come and play my violin as the bride walked down the aisle. And when I arrived at the church, they handed me the music that they wanted me to play. And the music was in notation, like I read when I play Mozart, but because the church held their services in Arabic, and if you know Arabic, when you write Arabic, you write from right to left, and you read from right to left, the opposite of the way it's read in English, which is from left to right. Well, the sheet music was written from right to left. So that was my challenge, being able to look at the notes and read it in the opposite direction. And I was able to, with a few minutes of practice and focus, I was able to read and play the piece that the bride wanted while she came down the aisle. But music can take you and me and us to different time periods, different cultures, different experiences. Now imagine what we would be able to do when we learn how to articulate the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in a universal way. Because just as truth is universal, falsehood all over the earth is a universal plague as well. The fall of the human being that's described of in the Bible and in the Holy Quran is a universal illness. And so what the Savior gave to us is a universal healing that is designed to heal humanity, but he needs those who are able, doctors, those who are able to administer the healing in a way that it can serve its universal purpose.